What's up, guys? All right, so tonight we are going to test drive the fastest car in the world, the fastest production car. This is the Model S P100D. Now here's a fun little fact. This particular vehicle right now is on loan from Tesla. Again, let me have it for the night. They saw my last video and they liked it. This right here is actually how you can tell if the new cars have ludicrous mode and essentially are the P version, because they don't come badged anymore. So you can actually see here, there is a red line underneath the dual motor. Beyond that, you really can't tell. It's essentially a P90D, or what they used to be called P100Ds. Beyond that, it's still the fastest car in the world, production fastest car. It is a under 2.5 seconds 0 to 60. I've got my friend Chris coming over here so he can actually video me driving this car so I can pay full attention, because they changed the law here in Tennessee. And sorry if you can hear this fucking noise back here. I got a construction going on. I live in a developing community here, so we still have to deal with all the construction noise. But as you approach the car, it opens up. It's not like the Model S where it'll actually open and shut the door for you. This particular vehicle here, you know, it has what I would consider to be one of the more desirable color options on this particular car. I was really surprised at the amount of space this particular vehicle has. Has quite a bit of space. It's not as small as the Model 3. The Model X does have a little bit more room. But you know, like the Model X, it's got the moonroof, the all-glass moonroof. Of course, you do not get the ability to have a sunroof, so that is one negative. I do like my sunroof in my Ford Raptor right now, and my wife doesn't get to enjoy hers either because she's got the same moonroof. But I'm considering getting, you know, I mentioned it in the last video, I am looking to, you know, to basically get a P version of the X. My wife's got the 100D. It's fast. I got to one-up it, of course, and you know, I am the car guy after all. But very similar to the Model X, you know, you can use this for storage, so you do get practical storage here. These can be turned into cup holders. Very Spartan, just like the Model X, but at the same time, it's nice in here. You know, I love the ash wood. You know, the ash wood is my favorite trim option, you know, on this vehicle, other than the tan seats with the light wood. That is kind of nice. But the dark ash wood is very nice and very cool. The white interior, you know, the negative of white, if you guys know, you're going to get blue from your blue jeans on it. My M6, I had a big problem with that. Now, one thing that I've discovered on this particular vehicle that I really liked. Oh, and by the way, other than the line underneath where the actual word is, this is also how you can tell if it's a performance version, is you have the carbon fiber there, and then you have the red brake calipers. So those are the two telltale signs that give it away as a performance Model S, which is kind of interesting, I thought. All right, so let me grab the key here. And that is not the key that I just dropped. Hold on one second. And I'm gonna open up the trunk here. If you wanna open up anything on this car, you're just gonna double tap and it'll do it on the doors. It'll do it on the front, the trunk. Now what's really interesting about the Model S that I forgot, because I had a friend that had a 2012, is the amount of storage space you actually get with this vehicle. It's pretty unbelievable. It's basically a crossover. So you can you know, pull this latch right here, and you can lay the seats down, and I mean, you just get a tremendous amount of room. You know, you could lay, I mean, you could probably easily get skis in here, you know, or really anything. Tons of cargo space. So that's really nice, because that is one thing that my last sedan, my M6, did not have. It does have the power latch here, which is really nice. So there you go. I would use that. And then, as you guys know, you do get the front trunks as well. They call it so you double tap on the car here, it'll pop up. and you do get additional storage space here. So it is nice. It's nice to have. If you want to lower it, you want to go ahead and gently take it down, rest it here, and push right there. And then it'll close it for you. It's a good looking car, I gotta say. I like it. I mean, you've seen it. I think that at this stage, the Model S is due for a refresh. I was talking to the guy at the dealership, and he agreed. And he said that, you know, this car, they were coming out with it. Rumors were floating around, but no official news yet on that. I gotta say though, it looks good. It's aged really, really well. I mean, this thing has got to be what, 5-6 years old now, and it still looks really freaking good. It's just a good looking car, great lines, looks incredible with the sun setting right now. So overall, I mean, yes, this thing is still good looking, but you know, the problem is you've seen it before. I mean, how many model, you know, let's say S classes, or how many you know, BMW M series cars, they refresh those things every 2 to 3 years, and they do a big refresh every 5 usually. So it's overdue for one. I'm pretty sure if you're gonna buy a Tesla, you're probably gonna be leaning on holding off. You know, this thing is still a $120,000 car. You can get a lot of cars for that kind of money. So I'm kind of leaning towards seeing what new comes out. I mean, if you're going to spend the money, I'd frankly lean towards the Model X, because in the end of the day, you're going to get the ability to have the 6-seat configuration, and you're still going to get a performance vehicle. And I think ultimately that's just more of a car. That's what we ended up going with. We ended up getting it, and we liked the way it looked, and it really fit our needs as a family. But if I wanted to buy this as a pure performance, pure sports car, I mean, this is the fastest car in the world. It still looks good, but it don't turn heads anymore. You know, driving this car, it's kind of like just driving a Tesla. You've seen one, you've seen 100. And there's quite a few of them on the road now. They've kind of lost that exclusivity factor. Look, don't get me wrong. It is still one of the best cars, if not the best car in the world. It's not just fast, it's comfortable. The seats are great. The technology is great. Autopilot is amazing. Chris is gonna be here shortly. We're gonna demonstrate that for you. So I'm still an all-around net bullish on Tesla. I just feel like right now they need to redo the Model S. They need to come out with some styling changes, something. I mean, at least new wheels, and maybe a wing or something that's just cool, like a special upgrade package. Just something that tells people that, hey, I just spent $120,000. You know, I invested $120,000. Very shitty investment, but I invested it. And you know what? I don't even get a fucking badge anymore. And what's up with that? That's the first thing I said to the sales guy. I was like, wait a minute. They took off the P100 badge? Are you kidding me? He's like, yeah, you can order it. I'm like, what? What is Tesla thinking? You think people who spend this kind of money? I mean, look, if you want to have a fast car, you can get a Model 3 performance version, 3.2, 0 to 60, right? That's still wicked fast. And at the end of the day, what else do you need? But no, you get this because you want the status, right? You want the exclusivity of it. You want something that is really, really nice and really fast and you know, makes no excuses. But with this, you don't even get to tell people that. I mean, and look, you could say that, oh, that's vanity, blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit, okay? You're spending a lot of money on this car. Now, if you're in commercial real estate and you're cash rolling $40,000, $50,000 a month and you got no debt, hey, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't need that little ego boost. But for most of us out there, if they're gonna spend this kind of money, we gotta work really hard for it. You wanna tell the world, hey, I've reached a level of success. I can afford top of the line. And yes, I think they should make it very more obvious, a little bit more obvious that, you know, you've reached that. They used to. You used to be able to tell a P100D or a P90D very, very easily. You used to be able to tell the difference between an S and a standard version very, very easily. Now it's starting to get a little blurred. You know, I mean, really, red brake calipers, a little tiny carbon fiber splitter, and a little line underneath it. That's all I get? Not for this kind of money. So we're gonna test drive it. I love this vehicle as far as the speed, just to drive over here. It's just unbelievably fast. I mean, keep in mind, I've still got my ZL1 Camaro. That thing has 650 horsepower. 650 horsepower, that is a fact, okay? And 650 pounds of torque. It'll do 0 to 60 in about a second more than this car. A second more than this car. So that tells you this thing's putting down well over 700 horsepower. I've heard things as high as 770, 800 horsepower on this engine, which is just bananas. I mean, for a production car, A, a sedan, B, I mean, give me a break. I mean, you know, you're not buying a Porsche Turbo S here. You're buying a 4-seating sedan. So it is truly unbelievable. It's a technological marvel, and I can't wait till Chris gets here. I'll show you the Autopilot feature. I'll show you some of the other cool features about the car. But yeah, it needs a refresh. I'm not gonna lie. I think so. And Tesla, if you're watching this video, Elon Musk, I love you. I love everything you stand for. I'm an investor in your stock. I'm an investor in your bonds. You're gonna be successful. I believe in you. But never forget the exclusivity factor of your vehicles, okay? They're no longer just, you don't just have the cool factor going for you, because there is the Porsche Taycan and a few other cars out there that are starting to get really nice, the e-trons of the world. So it's time to start really making your car stand apart a little bit, and especially with your performance versions like this thing. You know, sure, it looks good, but let people know, hey, I've got the cream of the crop, I've got ludicrous mode, I bought the fastest car in the world, look at me. And there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion, okay? There's nothing wrong with getting a base level Model S, but if you're gonna go and you're gonna spend this kind of money, I think it makes a lot of sense. Hey guys, so I've shot a little bit of the video. My friend Chris has now arrived, so we can actually take a drive. They changed the law in Tennessee. Now you are supposed to, you know, whatever, I guess. Is that your steering wheel? You gotta put the belt on. So now you actually have to, you know, pay attention, not video and drive. You're not supposed to look at any electronic devices, so that would definitely fall under that category. So this is, just to reiterate, the P100D, and you saw the video earlier, so it comes with the weird badging now, which just kind of suck, but it is the fastest car in the world, fastest production car, 0 to 60 in under 2.5 seconds, runs the quarter mile in I think 10 seconds. It's pretty nuts, and you know, yeah. It's got autopilot. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of that for you today. I do have to get out of my neighborhood. If you saw my last Tesla video, obviously I've got a little bit of a nice pleasant drive doing the speed limit, so we'll get out and then I could scare the bejeebus out of Chris here, but I do have regeneration mode in right now, or on. So essentially the battery is gonna come, it's kind of like a sport bike. That's the closest thing that I can compare it to. As soon as you let off the throttle, it starts charging the batteries. The brake lights come on, which is interesting, just like you were braking, and it actually feels like you're applying a pretty stiff brake, especially if you're at high speeds. Now, beyond that, this car is easy to drive. It is unbelievably easy to drive, in fact. It is essentially like a car. You have the accelerator pedal, you have the brake, the steering wheel, you can adjust the sensitivity if you want it to be sport mode, if you want it to be normal mode, etc. Very easy to drive. If you're coming from a gas-powered vehicle, you're not gonna have a hard time in any way, shape, or form getting used to this vehicle. In fact, you're probably gonna like it. It's really quiet. Speaking of that, let's turn on the AC. That is literally the only noise you're gonna hear in this whole drive, which is kind of eerie to get used to, you know, coming from a guy who drives a Ford Raptor. Now, if you're in the turns, it's pretty maneuverable. You ready for this? This car is bananas fast, dude. Yeah, so that was 60, and you know, that took less than 3 seconds. Now, I have not applied the brake once. It basically brakes for you, and that is full throttle, and that is 85, like that. It's just the fastest damn car. It's unbelievable, and it's so drama-free. I mean, that's like the thing that I get when I drive this vehicle. There's no drama at all about it. It goes fast, it turns easily. I'm gonna show you autopilot here in a second. It's great. I mean, they knocked it out of the park. I don't know what else to say. You know, the technology, you can adjust a few things here in the vehicle. So just so you guys can see here, Chris, if you can focus on the screen here. So we have got a few things. We've got driving mode in Ludicrous Plus. So we got full dual motor power here. Steering mode in Sport. Regenerative braking's on standard versus low. So that's why you're going to feel it really kick in. We merge onto the highway here. All right, so this is a good time. I'll put on autopilot. So this button right here, 2 pulls back, full autopilot mode engaged. I'm gonna cruise it at 75, and then I could focus a little bit more on these settings. So now the car is fully driving itself, steering, braking, paying attention to traffic. It's for $5,000, which is what they're currently charging, $6,000 for this upgrade. I think it's personally worth it. I would use it a lot, being in sales and constantly being on the phone and having to multitask. This would be a great feature to have. Works really, really well. I mean, you can see it's not affected in any way, shape, or form by night. We are at dusk right now, and it's driving itself just fine. Now, I have to apply a little bit of a slight steering. They haven't got over the laws yet, you know, where autonomous vehicles, they're probably, I'd say, a year, maybe 3 at most away from having full autonomous driving and being able to summon your car anywhere and all that. But yeah, going back to this, you know, autopilot, you can change some of the features here. You literally can put in an address in the navigation and it will direct you all the way there. You just have to pay attention along the way and continue to do the steering, which is interesting. Like right now, it's asking me to apply a slight bit of steering, which is kind of annoying, but I think you could put your you could actually put your hands on the steering wheel. It does negate that, but that's kind of pointless in my opinion. If you're gonna autopilot, you might as well just let it do its thing. Now the suspension on this car, because I'm a sports car guy, right now it's on low. I've got it in always to lower, so the faster this car gets, the more it's gonna hunker down. And then I've got the adaptive dampening in sport mode. But it's not stiff. I mean, that's a pretty big bump right there. It's still pretty comfortable. It's not like my ZL1 1LE. That thing will launch you through the roof if you hit a bump at the wrong time or too fast or whatever. So yes, autopilot, I mean, it just took that turn. We've got traffic in front of us, left of us, and behind us, and we are having no issues right now. That's pretty amazing. All you have to do is do this slight little steering force every couple of minutes, and it's going to just drive itself. That's an unbelievable feature. No cars, you know, I showed this in the 100D video, but no cars have gotten anywhere near that level of autopilot. My Ford Raptor will, you know, go back and go forward in traffic, but it's not going to steer itself. And you know, I think the Cadillac and just a handful of cars actually will steer for you, but it's really just keeping the lanes. This thing will do everything. It'll drive in off-roads. It'll drive on the highway. It'll negotiate turns. I mean, the Model 3 will actually come to a full stop at stop signs and the whole nine. I mean, it's really getting to the point where you don't need to pay attention. And it's incredible in 2019. I can't think of another company that's anywhere near that, frankly. Look at that. It's picking up this big old truck. These guys are passing. So I'm going to jump off here so we can have a little more fun. You know, one thing I just noticed about the interior of this car, look at this nice little light here. This is kind of cool. So it has this nice light trim. Very, very cool here. And then, of course, you do still have the moonroof, which is a phenomenal feature in this vehicle. So it feels really airy. It's much larger than the Model 3. I thought the Model 3 was a little cramped. So if I was going to get a sedan again and I didn't need all the room, I would definitely lean towards this, no doubt about it. This is the one I would buy, and frankly, I like the prestige of it. The Model 3 is your base car, you know, and you're going to see a ton of them on the road. Yeah, it's fast. I mean, it's fast on another level of fast. You can't describe how much torque and how much speed this vehicle puts down. You just have to go to a Tesla dealership, take a loan around, and experience it. Because I don't know how else to describe to you what 2.6 seconds, or really 2.5, maybe even 2.3. I've seen that as low. I think Motor Trend did it at 2.3 seconds. I can't explain to you how fast that is. I mean, look, you just snap on the throttle and you're doing 50. I mean, you just push it ever so slightly, and you're doing 70. It's almost comical how fast it is. It's like a video game. It's like you're literally playing a video game and you threw $100,000 into the engine of your Porsche Turbo and then you're driving that, right? But this is a stock car that you can buy. I mean, is it cheap? No, it's not cheap. Now, here's another fun thing. I'm going to go ahead and put it in autopilot. So we're going to get to a point where we can put it in autopilot. So here's a good spot. So we're on a back road and we're going to go ahead and see how it does. Now, in my opinion, this is about as sketchy of a road as you're going to get. Now, in the P100D, it navigated a different road, which is probably even as sketchy as this. But this is about as back road as you're going to find and probably drive on autopilot, frankly. I'm at 45 miles an hour, and we're going to see how it does. It's going to get really curvy up here. So it's asking me to apply a slight steering force. So it's saying, hey, you still paying attention? It's noticing the trees on the right side of me right now. It's picking that up. Just unbelievable. Every time I get in the Tesla, it's just like, it's like a whole nother experience that you've ever had. Look at this. Oh man, it makes me want to grab the wheel so bad. It's like, you just think it's gonna run off the road, but then it figures it out. It's freaky. It's very, very freaky. Not gonna lie. Like, it really forces you to kind of rethink how you've driven cars pretty much your entire life, especially on a road like this. So it's not doing 45 miles an hour anymore. If you haven't noticed, it's doing 41 miles an hour. Whoa. I stepped in there because it went a little over the line, but frankly, I think it would have negotiated it just fine. But that's a little freaky. So yeah, put it back in. Okay, so I did step in once there, but that is a really tough little part of that road. But yeah, for the most part, it's doing it. Isn't that something, man? That's just unbelievable. Alright, so we got one more shot here. Why are you slowing down? Okay. So let's see. We are in ludicrous mode. Now launch mode. That is something I haven't tried in this vehicle yet. I have a feeling once it's in ludicrous mode, I don't think you even need to do it. So let's see here. There's a nice little straightaway coming up here that I can use. So let's just have a little fun. There's nobody out here on this road. This is like country living out here. So this is as good of a spot as you're gonna find to do something like this. Ooh, it's got auto dimming lights. That's really nice. All right, so let's see what she does. Oh. Wow. That's really something. That's really, it makes the hair on the back of your head almost stand up. It shifts the blood in your body. It is just that fast. But it's drama free. Fastest car in the world. You know, you drive my Camaro and you do that, and you know, it makes all this noise and it makes this organic feeling to it. And this car, it's just A to B, baby. A to B and real fast. So yes, I love it. I'm a big fan of the vehicle. Elon Musk, we support you. You know, the millennials are behind you, man. We're buying your cars. Keep it up. We love your technology. Now, I'm just going to do a little fun spirited driving for a second. You know, this car is very maneuverable. You have a low center of gravity because you have all the batteries beneath you. You got it in the low setting. I've got it in sport mode. So, you know, I got it in sport steering. It's fun. It's not quite, you know, a performance supercar, but because it's so fast, it actually blurs the lines of what you can do. You know, so you do get, I almost ran over a skunk there, but you do get the speed in the front line, and I'd say you get 75 to 80% of what you'd ever want to do, you know, as far as, you know, behind the scenes, back roads, etc. So yeah, I mean, what else you want? I mean, for a car that can take 4 adults out for dinner, it's pretty much the best of both worlds. And for $120,000, now that's the only challenge here, is how much this thing costs. $120,000 is not a small amount of money for a vehicle, especially one that they're kind of more or less mass producing. So you are going to take a pretty large depreciation hit. I'm seeing Teslas lose 33 to 35% of their value in their very first year of ownership. So that means if you bought a Model X at $160,000, it is worth $100 to $105 after the first year. And then it's going to lose another 10%. Now, believe it or not, that's actually beating the average. There are companies like BMW and Audis and even Mercedes, well, they'll lose even more value than that on their high-end vehicles. But still, it's a big hit. It's not an investment. They haven't come out with the technology yet that allows you to use your car and drive it around. It sounds like the Model 3 is what they're going to leverage for that. All the lease trade-ins are going to be used on Tesla's program, that they can start making money from the Model 3. But I think right now, if you're going to buy a $120,000 car, I don't see you leasing it out. So that's not really even an option to factor into your payment. So really, you're going to spend $1,400 a month, $1,300 a month, maybe even more than that. You know, the dealership said they can kind of work with you on the numbers, whatever that meant, but I don't know. It's a lot of money for a car. It's the best car in the world. It's the fastest car in the world. I mentioned it earlier. They do need a refresh on the body style. The Model S is absolutely dated. It's frankly looking dated. It looks almost exactly the same as the P85 did back in 2012. Like if you saw a P85D debadged and then you saw this debadged, you'd never really be able to tell. I mean, the changes they've done are very subtle. They still have the same brakes, the same wheels, they still have the same body shape. The technology's only gotten better, but the actual car itself is pretty much the same. So, I don't know. I mean, there were rumors that they were going to have the refresh, and then it never came out. Like, I heard nothing. And I also heard rumors they're going to release the truck this summer, and we haven't heard anything about the truck. So, you know, that's fine. They're focusing on the current vehicles they have and their business model. But this particular vehicle, I just think that if you're going to spend $120,000, you're going to want something with a little bit more prestige, something a little cooler. And frankly, they don't even put the badge on this car. The P100D isn't even on this car. It just says dual motor, and I mentioned that earlier. So I don't see the value prop right now. Don't get me wrong. I love the Model X. The Model X still makes sense to me. That's why we got one. And, you know, you got the tow hook, and you've got the 6-seat configuration, and all of that shit. But in the end of the day, I don't see the point of spending $120,000 on this vehicle when I feel like there's a refresh coming soon. I just feel it. I think that something's going to happen later this year. Musk is going to make an announcement. They're going to release the truck, and they're going to release an upgraded Model S, new styling, and probably they're going to do like the Model Y and talk about that and that it's coming out and blah, 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 and how many pre-orders they've got, and the stock's going to get crazy, and that's kind of my prediction. But ultimately, I have a really tough time spending this kind of money right now. I feel like the best value is to get a used Model S. I mean, go save yourself $30,000, buy the P100D from somebody who didn't like it or just couldn't afford it and traded it back in. That's the best to buy right now. And I hate to say that, but at the end of the day, I mean, what generation of vehicles, like think about it, you get a, oh God, this car's so fast. You buy a Mercedes, right? Does the manufacturer keep the same style Mercedes on the lot for 6 years or 7 years like they have? No, absolutely not. They're consistently upgrading the look. They come out with completely refreshed models every 3 to 4 years, 5 at the most. So that's just something that Tesla hasn't done. And we definitely don't want to pass the Mr. Sheriff here, do we? So guys, I love the car though. I mean, maybe it sounds like I'm hating on it, and they need a refresh. That is true, but in the end of the day, it is still an incredible experience. Go to your Tesla dealership. Go take one like I've done on loan here, so you can experience the speed, the performance of this vehicle. Because it is unbelievable. There's nothing that I can tell you or explain to you. I can show you little numbers going on a screen from 0 to 80, right? And you can kind of get that vibe. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's not the real experience. You know, the real experience is exactly what, you know, you gotta just get in it, you gotta put the autopilot on, you gotta experience the speed yourself, because it's really impossible to tell you how fast this car is. It's bananas fast. And the autopilot works so good, and it's confidence inspiring. But yeah, ultimately, to sum it up, they need to refresh the Model S. It's gotta happen. You know, it's got the performance, it's got the technology, but it's a little long in the tooth. I don't know how else to say it. For the money. If they're gonna keep the models they currently have, I personally feel like they're gonna probably discount this car a little bit, especially if they come out with a new version. If they come out with a new version, then you're probably looking at some serious discounts. Maybe it's gonna be a good time to scoop it up. The Tesla dealership, with this car having about 2,000 miles on it, was asking 105 still. Not a cheap car for essentially a demo vehicle. So, you know, if you're going to order one, I think I scoped one out last night. If I ordered a white one, 22-inch black wheels, all the goodies, 118 grand. So yeah, that's my personal thought. I think it's probably better to get a used one or get a Model X, or hopefully Tesla will come out with some cool news on the new version, which is very exciting. So I appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Love your support. We've got well over 50,000 views on this channel now. We're almost up to 200 subscribers, which I know is a drop in the bucket to YouTube, but for a guy that's got 2 young children and frankly just spends as much free time as he has, I really appreciate the support. Guys, have a good night.